Hello and welcome to DOZ Monologues, hosted by Eturuvie Erebor. DOZ Monologues, also known as DOZ Chronicles Audio Stories, aims to educate, inspire, and drive societal change. All stories are written and narrated by Eturuvie Erebor, and all rights are reserved, including the right of reproduction in whole or in part in any form. This is episode 10, titled Envie's Lesson. If you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and share. Thank you. Envie's Lesson. I envied Monica, my childhood friend. Her life was perfect and surpassed my own, and I envied her. Let me be clear, Monica was a true friend to me, and I never bore her any ill will. I genuinely celebrated her achievements and felt joy for her whenever she reached new milestones. At the same time, however, I could not help but long for the kind of life she lived, the sort of life I had always imagined for myself, but which seemed so distant from my own reality. My admiration for her was tinged with envy. I found myself wishing to experience the world as she did, to have the opportunities and good fortune that seemed to come her way continually. She was incredibly beautiful, had a knack for putting together her outfits, and carried herself with grace. If I hadn't known her well, I would have sworn she had attended a finishing school. She was elegance personified, and as a result, she attracted the guy every other girl wanted. Not only did she win him over, but she also inspired him to behave well. It wasn't just men who were drawn to her wherever she went. People and good fortune followed her. She embodied the idea of favor, experiencing opportunities that others desired but never managed to attain. During our time at university, there was a moment that has stayed with me ever since. A mutual friend, observing the differences between Monica and the rest of us, once remarked with a knowing smile, "There are two kinds of women in this world. Women like Monica, who get everything they want, and women like the rest of us, who get their leftovers." I remember thinking at the time that no truer words had ever been spoken. Monica's life seemed charmed in ways that set her apart, and this observation captured what many of us felt but rarely admitted aloud. I remember the moment I first faced my envy of her. It was after we completed our National Youth Service year. We had both been apart for a year, me serving in Jos while she served in Kaduna. I was looking forward to returning home to Benin, where we lived in the same neighborhood and could visit each other as often as we liked. We hadn't discussed any plans for the future beyond our youth service. As I was returning to Benin, I had some ideas about what I wanted to pursue, but I wanted to run them by Monica first to see her thoughts. Monica was intelligent, and she had a knack for recognizing when a person of venture was worth my time and when it wasn't. In the past, whenever she had warned me about a man, he always turned out to be more trouble than he was worth. When I returned home, I spent hardly an hour with my family before rushing out of the house, eager to see Monica. We hadn't spoken on the phone in the days leading up to our passing out parade, but I remembered from our previous conversations that Monica planned to be in Benin right after the parade. Therefore, I was sure she would be home. When I arrived at her house, I was greeted not by Monica, but by her very excited mother, who was like a second mother to me. She was thrilled to see me after a year and eager to share news about Monica. "Ivie, Monica is not home," she said with a warm smile. "She left for America on holiday yesterday." Her words were delivered with a mixture of excitement and pride. The revelation caught me off guard, and I froze to the spot as shock and confusion flooded through me in that moment. Monica had gone to America? On holiday? How? Monica and I both came from lower middle class families. Our parents did their best to provide for us. They ensured we had access to education, put food on the table, clothed us decently, and gave us a secure place to call home. These were privileges we never took for granted, but the reality was that was as far as their resources stretched. The idea of traveling abroad, especially for something as leisurely as a holiday, was simply beyond their means. Such experiences were reserved for children from wealthy families, not for people like us. We knew we were not rich, and opportunities like going overseas were not something we ever expected to come our way. Monica had certainly enjoyed many positive experiences, but none of them involved traveling abroad. Even when her boyfriend took her on a plane from Benin to Lagos during our university days, it was a significant event. She was the first in her family, as well as mine and among our friends, to fly on a plane. Now, her mother was talking about her going to America. I struggled to comprehend how this had come about. The expression on my face must have revealed my surprise, as her mother laughed. "I know you are taken aback, Ivie," she said. We were also surprised. I still haven't fully come to terms with the shock of it all. A suitor was the one who arranged for her to visit him. I frowned in disbelief. "A suitor?" I repeated, my heart pounding heavily in my chest. The reality of Monica's situation was beginning to sink in. Not only had she traveled abroad for a holiday, an experience entirely out of reach for most people from her background, but now there was talk of her possibly getting married soon. "Yes, my dear, a suitor," her mother confirmed. "She will tell you all about it when she returns in 2 weeks' time. He saw her picture and said he wanted to marry her, and arranged for her travel documents so she could visit him." As I walked home, I kept replaying her mother's words in my mind. Monica was in America on a 2-week holiday, visiting a suitor. In contrast, I had just returned from DOZ after finishing my youth service, without a job offer and no marriage proposal in sight. I was contemplating how to build a business from scratch without any financial support. I couldn't help but wonder why my life always seemed to pale in comparison to Monica's. Despite growing up in the same social strata, her life always appeared to be so much better. "I envy Monica," I said out loud, acknowledging for the first time that I was envious of my dear friend. As I waited for Monica to return from America, I found my life completely unsatisfactory. My mother, who was excited about my return home and eager to help me plan my next steps, began to grow frustrated with me. When she suggested, "Ivie, what do you think about starting your master's degree right away?" I responded, "Where? Abroad or in Nigeria?" When she invited me to join her at a friend's house, saying her son just returned from youth service and got a job with the state civil service, "You would really like him," I declined, saying, "No thank you. I'm not interested in a suitor who is a local champion." Monica was in America, getting to know her suitor. Why couldn't that be me too? I wondered. I had no desire to meet someone who was stuck in a civil service job and probably had no ambition beyond holding that job for the next 35 years and retiring with a gold watch and pension. 2 weeks went by quickly and Monica returned from America. The next day I visited her, feeling a mix of emotions. On one hand, I was excited to hear about her experiences in America, but on the other hand, I feared it would only make me dislike my own life even more. "Ivie!" Monica jumped up from the settee and ran towards me the moment I stepped into the nicely furnished living room of her parents' home, a familiar space as I had spent hours in it as a child growing up. The moment we embraced, I smelled her perfume, exotic and evoking a sense of luxury, so different from the cheap perfumes and body sprays we had favored during university when we had to rely on what our parents could afford. I pulled away from the embrace to take a good look at my friend. I hadn't seen her since we parted ways the previous year for youth service, but I was certain that the glow of her skin had little to do with the weather in Kaduna and everything to do with her recent trip to America. It wasn't just about the place she visited, it was about how well she had been taken care of. It was a radiant glow of a woman in love. "Monica, welcome back home," I said. "I don't need to ask how your trip to America went. You are positively glowing. You must have enjoyed yourself." She smiled, revealing white straight teeth that were significantly whiter than I remembered, which enhanced her beauty. "Come with me to my bedroom, Ivie," she said. "We'll talk there. I'm just itching to tell you everything." I followed her into her bedroom, which she shared with her younger sister Joyce. This room had always been our gossip spot and hadn't changed much since my last visit about a year ago. 2 large suitcases were open on the beds, overflowing with heaps of clothes. Everywhere I looked, shopping bags from high-end stores were scattered across the bed and floor. It was a beautiful mess. "Tell me everything," I urged, making room on the bed so I could sit beside her. "I was eager to see you as soon as I got back from Jos, only to hear you'd traveled to America for a holiday. Is it the America we see on the television? Or was it somewhere in Nigeria that just happens to be called America, like how there's a place called London in Lagos?" She burst out laughing. "Oh, Ivie, I have really missed you. You know how to make me laugh." "No, it is not a place in Nigeria called America. I went to the United States of America, specifically Florida." "Wow," I exclaimed. "Monica, you've leveled up. You are playing with the big girls now. How did this happen?" She offered a polite smile before responding. "To be honest, the entire experience still feels surreal. During my time in Kaduna, I met a woman named Ebere. Over the Christmas holiday, Ebere returned to Enugu and shared her youth service photographs with her cousin Chidi. I appeared in one of those photographs, and upon seeing it, Chidi expressed his intention to marry me. As he was scheduled to return to America after the holidays and could not meet me in person, he arranged for me to visit him in the United States following my youth service. He stated that should I find him agreeable and consent to marriage, he would return to Nigeria to formalize our union and subsequently arrange for us to reside together in America. "So, do you like him?" I asked. "Ivie, is that a question to ask?" Monica responded to my question. "Just look around you. Chidi bought all these things for me. Ivie, he spoiled me like no man has. Of course I like him." "So, what happens now?" "I have a wedding in 3 months," she responded happily. "Chidi has transferred money to my account, so I can start preparing." "And you will return to live with him in America?" I asked. "Yes, that's the plan." "Wow, you are lucky, Monica," I said. "You won't have to join the rest of us in searching for non-existent jobs or venturing into a business without finances." "My dear Ivie, Chidi refuses to consider me looking for a job. He believes I can have hobbies, but not work for money, as he doesn't want me to be stressed." All I could say was, "Monica, you are so lucky. I really envy you." She laughed cheerfully and gave me a couple of dresses, a handbag and a bottle of perfume. "You are my friend," she said. "I want you to look good too." Monica had always been like that. She sought to share what little she had with others. By the time I left Monica's house that evening, my self-esteem had significantly diminished. I felt like a servant in comparison to my friend. I didn't even bother to share my business idea with her. As I walked home, I kept saying, "Lord, how I envy Monica. How I wish my life could be like hers." Monica chose me to be her chief bridesmaid instead of her younger sister Joyce, who is 5 years younger. I put in a lot of effort to make sure Monica had the wedding of her dreams. Thankfully, Chidi had the financial means and was eager to please his bride. Whenever Monica made a request, it was promptly attended to. For this too, I envied her. A week before the wedding, I finally met Chidi. I remember stopping in my tracks as soon as I entered Monica's home and saw him. I had seen a photo of him, but it did not do him justice. Remember how I mentioned earlier that Monica always attracted the guys other girls wanted? Well, she really outdid herself when it came to Chidi, the man she was about to marry. He was tall and incredibly handsome. His baritone voice was enough to make any woman fall for him. He shouldn't have been so blessed with looks and money. I was staring like an idiot as Monica introduced us. "Babe, this is Ivie, my childhood friend. Ivie, this is Chidi, the love of my life and fiancé." I extended my hand, which trembled slightly. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Chidi," I said. "It's a pleasure to meet you too, Ivie." He smiled at me and took my hand gently. "Thank you so much for helping my baby plan the wedding. You've taken a lot of pressure off her, and I am immensely grateful." He produced a bundle of $100 bills and handed them to me. I expressed my thanks to him and Monica, and upon leaving, I felt confident that the amount will be enough to begin a business venture. I decided to start the process after the wedding concluded. Once again, I found myself envying Monica. It wasn't just the money she now had that sparked my envy. It was also her handsome partner. As I got to know him better, I realized he was not only charming, but also a brilliant and successful trader. Furthermore, the way he spoiled Monica was truly extraordinary. Before the wedding, I often felt sad instead of happy. On some nights I cried myself to sleep, repeatedly wishing for a life like Monica's. However, it felt like a waste of time. My life was nothing like Monica's. I had no suitor, and right before my eyes, Monica married Chidi in a beautiful ceremony. It was stunning in every way, from the traditional customs to the church wedding. At the wedding reception, while I was fulfilling my responsibilities as a chief bridesmaid, my mother approached me and whispered in my ear, "My friend's son who works in the civil service is here. He's not been able to take his eyes off you. Come and say hello." I was about to ask her to leave me alone, but I glanced over her shoulder and saw the young man watching me, so I decided to put on a smile and go with my mother to be introduced to him. He told me his name was Andrew and that he was a civil engineer with the State Ministry of Works. I said I was pleased to meet him, but that was a lie. I wasn't pleased at all. What I really wanted was for him, his smiling mother who appeared thrilled at our introduction, and my own mother to just leave me alone. Andrew was no Chidi. It was obvious. Not only was he shorter and less handsome, but he clearly had no money. What was my mother thinking? Introducing me to a man who could only offer me struggle. So what if he was an engineer with a secure job? He was still a pauper, plain and simple. After Monica and Chidi left for America, following their wedding, I settled down to face my business, utilizing the large sum of cash I received from Chidi. Andrew visited the house every other day to talk to me and inquire about my business arrangements. When I was rude and dismissive, he directed his attention to my parents, who were always happy to see him. As I focused on my business, sourcing materials, navigating the production phase, and managing marketing, I failed to recognize the blessings surrounding me. My goods were being well received by customers, and I began generating income almost immediately. Instead, my thoughts were consumed by Monica, who was in America spending her days in spas and beauty salons. My envy turned into rage, directed at Andrew, who continued to visit me despite my poor treatment of him. I am not a horrible person, but I wanted him to leave me alone. He embodied trouble and poverty disguised as a suitor. I had no interest in him. Yet, even as I prayed, wished, and yearned for someone like Chidi, no one arrived. A year later, Monica gave birth to a baby boy named Nonso. After Nonso was born, Chidi purchased the house for Monica in America and increased her monthly allowance. Lord, how I envy Monica, I repeated throughout the night I received the news. My friend had become a wife and mother, owning her first piece of land abroad. Here I was, trying to expand my small business, and the only positive thing I had to report after a year was that Andrew, his family and mine were pressuring me to marry him. The news about Monica having a baby added to the situation. My mother said, "Monica is now a mother. When will you marry this wonderful man God has given to you, Ivie? If it's God who has given him to me, tell God I don't want him. He should take him and give him to another woman." I began to cry unexpectedly, which surprised my mother, as she had not previously observed such an expression of frustration from me. She provided comfort until I regained composure, after which we sat on my bed and engaged in a meaningful conversation, something we had not done for several years. "Ivie, what is it that you don't like about Andrew?" she asked. "He is a responsible young man from a responsible family. He has a good job." "He has a terrible job," I said. "He will die wretchedly with that useless job. Look at how Monica lives. Can Andrew afford to give me that kind of lifestyle?" My mother looked at me for a moment without saying a word. "I think I now understand what the problem is," she said at last. "Ivie, my dear daughter, no two people in life have the same destiny. You are not Monica. Please don't compare your life to hers or desire what she has, because you don't know what the future holds. Your one prayer should be that all that God has for you will come to you. If this Andrew is what God has in store for me, I reject him," I said, pouting. My mother responded, "You are behaving like a child, Ivie. Consider giving Andrew an opportunity. Refrain from comparing him to Monica's husband, and avoid comparing yourself to Monica, as this would lead to misunderstandings." After talking to my mother, I decided to give Andrew a chance. But it wasn't immediate. This decision didn't come until the following year, when Monica had her second child, a daughter named Chidera. Although I envied the gifts and allowance her husband gave her, I realized that life wasn't for me. Instead, I decided to marry Andrew, who had been waiting for 2 years. We didn't have a big wedding. Andrew suggested a very small one, so we could allocate the money for investments, and I agreed. My agreement wasn't motivated by a desire for investments, but rather because I already viewed him as a loser. As a result, I figured I couldn't be disappointed by anything he did or said. During the course of our wedding ceremonies and subsequent transition into our new home, I became preoccupied with comparing my circumstances to Monica's and feeling envious, which prevented me from appreciating the positive aspects of my own life. Andrew made significant contributions to the business by handling most of the operational work, while also managing his own job and establishing an engineering consulting firm. With access to one car, Andrew ensured I could use it when needed. The income from my business remained under my control, while Andrew covered the household expenses. Was I grateful? Not really. I was too focused on Monica's success, constantly comparing our lives and feeling dissatisfied with my own. Even when I had my twins, Peter and Paul, my husband's jewelry gift seemed insignificant next to the real estate Monica received from hers. 5 years into Monica and Chidi's union, they decided to return to live in Abuja because Chidi's maternal uncle had become the nation's vice president. They built a massive 12-bedroom house with a swimming pool and Andrew and I traveled to Abuja to visit them. The trip should have made me happy because Andrew gained some contacts through Chidi and his business expanded, allowing us to get a glimpse of the kind of wealth that Monica and Chidi possessed. But I wasn't happy. I compared their 12-bedroom house to our 4-bedroom house. Even though it was ours, built by Andrew, I hated it because it wasn't as vast or luxurious as Monica's home. While living in Nigeria, Monica traveled on holiday with her 2 children every 6 weeks, taking a nanny along with her because Chidi didn't want her stressed out by caring for 2 small children. Andrew and I were doing better financially, but we were only able to travel once a year on holiday, and we certainly couldn't take the nanny with us. As you can imagine, I envied Monica each time she shared stories of her trips. My envy of Monica and her lifestyle lingered for years until the event at the Hilton Hotel in Abuja. By this time, Chidi and Monica had been married for 8 years. We traveled to Abuja to celebrate Chidi's 40th birthday. Chidi covered hotel suites for friends attending the weekend birthday party. On Sunday night, he and Monica met Andrew and me at the hotel to discuss potential work for Andrew's engineering firm. The men discussed business, while Monica and I talked about our marriages, children, and family life. As always, my story seemed insignificant compared to hers. I couldn't see how God had uplifted Andrew and me during the few years we had been married. Although our lives were improving every day, I was blind to that reality. However, I was about to learn an important lesson. About midnight, Chidi left to meet a business partner, promising to return and continue his discussion with Andrew. Monica planned to stay until he returned, but at the last minute she said, "I'd better go with Chidi to ensure he's not unnecessarily delayed." It's been 5 years and I'm still affected by what happened that night. Less than 20 minutes after Monica and Chidi left, a friend rushed in to tell us there'd been an accident. "What?" Andrew asked in disbelief. A trailer collided with their Range Rover as they were exiting the hotel's main gates, the man said. In a frenzy, we rushed to the hotel's main gate, where a small crowd had gathered around the crashed vehicle. I stood in shock as I watched the bodies being pulled out and placed on the ground side by side, Chidi and Monica. As I looked at their lifeless bodies, which had been full of life only moments earlier, and thought of their children, Nonso and Chidera, who were now orphaned, I heard the Lord speak to me, gently but clearly. Feel envious of her for this as well. The end. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of episode 10 of DOZ Monologues. DOZ Monologues will return next week with another episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave your comments, subscribe, like and share if listening on YouTube. To contact me, please visit my website eturuvieerebor.com or email me at eturuvie@eturuvieerebor.com. I invite all story lovers to explore my novels and novellas available on Amazon and Google Books. For audiobook enthusiasts, they are also on Audible. Thank you for listening. I am your favorite storyteller, Eturuvie Erebor, and I'll be here next Friday with another story.